he had been saying his diet is justified by the best science. Every calorie has to fight for its life. Posted all these different studies. And then I looked at the studies, 10 of the studies that he posted, and they were all these questionnaire-based studies that were like, how much pork did you eat last year? So like, do you guys remember how much pork you ate last year? Or let's say beef. How much beef did you eat last year?
I have no idea, but a lot.
What about how many cups of orange juice did you have last year?
Dude, I had no clue.
There you go. These questionnaire-based studies. So they do these questionnaires for people, and then they say, okay, who ate the most meat? And then like, what diseases did they get? Or like, what outcomes does that associate to?
It's correlative. It goes back to the water thing that you mentioned earlier, right? Which is like fluoride. Is it because of poor neighborhoods?
Exactly.
So maybe fluoride isn't actually that. Based on that, like, what's legit? It's like if everybody's biased and everybody's always putting in their own spin on it.
Yeah, true, but there's kind of a hierarchy of studies you use. Someone could argue that these studies of using questionnaire-based studies where like you don't know if the guy ate the beef in the form of like a Big Mac or a steak with potatoes. Like you don't know that. That's another huge issue. Just what you were talking about with the fluoride. And so the thing is there's different hierarchy of studies, like a randomized controlled trial. Of course, that's like supposed to be the top of the study hierarchy. But then these questionnaire-based studies, you could say this is like, it's like an investigative thing. So, okay, we found this data. We have no idea what it means because it's correlative, but now it's got us interested to investigate a little bit. And so it could be like a tiny little clue that you use as a stepping stone to do some proper research. But remember he made that thread, the 10 studies that I looked at, they were all this form of study. And so that was my point. That's why I went as far as saying, breaking down the scam science. The science he used was a scam because it's just so misleading. And this was supposed to be the science justifying why his perfect every calorie has to fight for its life diet is vegan. And so the reason I was so intense with my wording was because he's hyped up the diet for so long, and like he puts all the science into him. He's got a team of 30 doctors. It's like every calorie has to fight for his life. And then this is the level of justification he uses to say, this is why there's no meat in my diet. And so that's where I started. And that's all I wanted to put out. And then after that is when I was like, maybe I should look a little bit more. Cause it wasn't like I want to check out this guy's entire thing. I just kind of started there. Click on that image, Bryan Johnson's biomarkers. Okay, so you see those biomarkers. This is what he posted when he was talking about his diet. And he used a very similar argument. He said, debate the science if you want, but if you look at my biomarkers, they're fantastic. And okay, fair enough. Yeah, you can make the argument, look, it's working so good for me because my biomarkers are great. It looks good. His testosterone at the time he posted this one, he's posted some updated ones. It's 976, really high testosterone. TSH is fine. Looks great. Notice how there's no dates on here. So let's say you go to your doctor and then he says, your blood sugar is sky high, but it was fine last year. So let's not worry about it.
Is that enough?
Yeah. You'd be like, wait a minute,
also,
what's going on?
The age for this. Is this actually his age? Could he have done this 2 years ago?
Great question. Awesome question. Because that's the thing. Everyone wanted to know, did you take these at the same time? So if you have super high testosterone and really low insulin, or you have some marker reflecting that you have a calorie deficit, and it's like making this marker look good, everyone knows that a calorie deficit is going to affect your testosterone. So you want to say, is the testosterone tested at the same time as this other stuff? Did you take these on the same morning? Because the testosterone will be different morning to night. And so then ideally everything would at least be like in the same day. And if you're testing like a million biomarkers, okay, maybe you could say in the same week. That's fair enough, depending on which markers you're comparing. He posted an updated one and he admitted himself that they were the best markers in a span of 24 months. So he picked all these different markers over a span of 2 years and then put them all together and said, these are my markers. So to give you some context, I did that 5-day fast and then marathon, and my testosterone dropped 90%. It was like 860 to like 85, something like that. But, so that would look terrible. The doctor would be like, what did you do? Did you go get castrated or what? But the thing is
Did
my
you hang out with the gay frogs?
Yeah. Exactly. Did you drink that water? Exactly. So, but my insulin would be really low and my blood sugar would be really low because of fasting and exercising. So I could say like, hey, look how healthy I am. I have sky high testosterone. My insulin's super low. My blood sugar's super low. So I have good metabolic health. But then I don't tell them that the testosterone I'm reporting on was from a week ago before I destroyed my hormones with a fasted marathon. So just in that 1 week, I was able to get to such a dramatic difference. Now we're talking about 2 years.
So much shifts like within a week. Yeah. So like these numbers could be completely different next week.
Oh, easy. Yeah, easy.
Oh, I see your comment down here. When were each
Exactly.
of these tests
When
done?
were each of these tests done?
Oh my god.
And this was before I started investigating him. I was like, what? When are these tests done?
I definitely want to have Bryan on, and
Please do, man.
Yeah.
He's also said things like, here, he has got 976 testosterone in those biomarkers. So the natural question is, if you have such high testosterone on a 10% calorie restricted vegan diet at age 47, your testosterone is over 900. Where's your LH and FSH? So LH and FSH would indicate whether someone's taking exogenous testosterone. He didn't post that for a very long time. This came out, I think, in November last year. So over 4 months, no one saw the LH and FSH. So people like Dr. Paul Saladino were calling him out, like, let's see your LH and FSH, because I don't believe, or that's what Paul Saladino said, I don't believe this 976 number. And so finally, if you go back to his Twitter page, you can see that he posted some new biomarkers just yesterday. And he finally posted a blood test result showing his LH and FSH. But the testosterone is now 200 points lower. So 976 testosterone, 10% calorie restricted, 47-year-old vegan diet. That's impressive. But now you're saying, hey guys, here's my receipts for my LH and FSH. But now the testosterone you're posting is so much lower. Like, no one would have made all this hubbub about your testosterone if it was, I think most people would be like, okay, so yeah, 750. Okay, yeah, fair enough. That's pretty high, but it's nothing crazy.
There it is.
Yeah, 748, right? So
LH and FSH is here. That's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, LH and FSH. So the LH is above the reference range, it's a little high. FSH is, they're both above the reference range, a little bit high. But yeah, okay, you're not taking exogenous testosterone according to this, but before, the reason people made all this hubbub was because it's over 900. So it's like these little things like this. Let me share with you one that I would really like to hear your devil's advocate position on. So, I'm explaining the testosterone. What did I explain? I explained the biomarkers, the whole bad science behind his vegan protocol. This is and remember, I have 28 days worth of content. This is 3 days worth maybe of what I've discussed. So one of the days that I did, day 25 on the series, is where I talk about a study called BP 5000 that he launched himself. It was BP 5000 hinting at thousands of participants in this particular study, and it was designed to assess the effects of the blueprint stack in thousands of people for 90 days. And so the people had to pay around $2,000 to be in it because they had to pay for the blood test themselves. They had to pay for the products themselves, and then they did it for 90 days. And at the start of the study, he said to them in writing in the FAQ, I will release the full data set for everybody to analyze at the end of the study. And so the study was completed beginning of last year, if I'm remembering, and he told the participants that he would release the data last year, November 2024. He's never released the full data set. And so everyone, for the longest time, here's the thing, is I got access to the BP 5000 Discord because they made a little private Discord for all the BP 5000 participants to talk with each other. And there was a glow up thread and there was a side effects thread. And the glow up thread, you can see the messages count before you click on the thread. The number of messages in the side effects thread was 10x that of the glow up thread. And people are talking about all these different side effects like GI issues, diarrhea, constipation, ringing in the ears, insomnia, kind of, not minor stuff. And so then the question is, that looks really bad, but then he could say, oh, well, the overall benefits outweighed the side effects. Then why don't you share the data, like you said? Because he never shared the full data set. All he produced was a tweet and it has some like random small improvements, like, I don't know, 10% improvement in calmness, things like that. I'd have to look at it again, but it didn't share the side effects. It was clearly not the full data set. It was not peer reviewed. It was not published. And so that one is kind of like, how do you explain that away? Why are you not willing to share the data like you said you would? And so I made my my post about it. I'm not sure what prompted him to call Nick Norwitz, but Nick Norwitz is a PhD at Oxford. He's about to get his MD very soon. And I said at the end of my video that, hey, Bryan, if you need someone to parse the data and review it and publish it, Nick Norwitz and his colleague Adrian Soto, he's another PhD, they're willing to look at the data and publish it for you for free. And so then, and it was like, get in touch with me and I'll put you in touch with Nick Norwitz. But, Bryan got in touch with Nick Norwitz, totally fine. I was happy he did. And then Nick Norwitz put a tweet about it, super nice, super cordial, be like, hey, I talked to Bryan and so, I like his don't die philosophy, but he didn't give Nick Norwitz the data. I can't remember the excuse he made, but it was something about like legal ramifications, something super vague. But then it's like, what legal ramifications? Can you point to what exactly suggests you can't share this data that you promised to all these participants who paid $2,000 each to be in this study? What are the reasons why you can't release the data? So this is kind of like the level of criticism that I'm looking at. It's not just like, oh, I think his diet's bad. It's these. There's things on this level is what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to illustrate what you can expect from the series. It's not just like this guy is pale and his diet is bad. It's some pretty suspicious thing.
I think this is a larger discussion about and just to respond to what do you say to that? Yeah, I would like to see the data as well. I think people may have commented more on the side effects piece because negativity just gets more responses. Maybe there might be like somebody posts a problem, the other people are like, oh, like maybe try this, maybe try that. Rather than like glow up, it's like, oh, nice, hey, cool, right?
Yeah, totally fair point. Then why not release it?
Like you against Bryan Johnson in a boxing match, who's gonna win?
Oh,
are you gonna call him out?
I would say I'll do a boxing match. It would depend on who's more trained, but we can do it. Yeah,
don't start it, dude. This goes viral.
Yeah. Imagine we're starting something here. Like, all right, official announcement: Joseph Everett is challenging Bryan Johnson to a boxing match.
There it is. Ding ding.
December.
He's got to prove he's not on TRT before the match though. That's what I want to. I want a third party testing his blood.
Would that make all the difference for you?
I mean, I'm like, if he's on TRT and I'm not, then I'm not going to fight him. He's doping.
But he's older than you.
Yeah.
He's 40.
How old are you?
I see.
Doesn't that balance it out? Come on.
Does that balance it out?
Come on.
That's valid. I'll give it. I mean, listen, Leon has a point.
Oh, okay. Before we switch topics, let me point out one thing. So he's gone on so many, because this is just hilarious. He's gone on so many podcasts bragging about his nighttime erections. We were talking about that earlier. He's got this thing that actually measures nighttime erections, and there's some health logic behind it. It says some things about your cardiovascular health and so on, and that's part of the reason why he says he does it. And so the thing is he'll go on podcasts. For example, he went on Megyn Kelly's podcast and he was talking about like how his nighttime erections are so long. They are longer than the average 18-year-old's nighttime erections. Time-wise, yeah, time-wise. And then, and he said all these things and like, oh, nighttime erections are a great measure of health, of cardiovascular health. It's better than potentially cholesterol and blood pressure. And he was like talking about why it's so important and why his are like so superhuman. But he's taking Cialis, the ED medication, the erectile dysfunction medication. Okay.
Cool. You can. Thank you for the clarification. I'm like, you're looking at me like, oh my God, wow. Like, I'm like, bro, I don't know what Cialis is. So, yeah. Thank you for explaining.
Yeah. So as if you don't know.
The commercials that say if you have an erection lasting more than 4 hours, go to the hospital. And then he's like, check out my 4-hour erection, guys. But so if you go to his Twitter, if you type in Bryan Johnson 2.5 milligrams Cialis, you'll see what I'm talking about. People are calling it Bonergate. They're calling him the Lance Armstrong of boners. Because, like, why would you brag about it if you're taking Cialis?